Hello everybody. Today I'm going to explain a little bit more on what is a method, what methods are used for, when it's practical to use a method. Hopefully this will give you a little bit more understanding on what is a method. So what is a method? A method is it's basically a set of instructions. Okay. In a general concept, without programming, a method is just a set of instructions. Usually, sometimes it's logical, sometimes it's not. Like for example, let's say we have a method, and it's called waking up. Okay. Well, in waking up, what's our first task to do? Well, we need to wake up. Second, we turn off alarm. Third, get out of bed. Let's mix it up here. Like maybe if I'm not lazy, then we'll do, if I'm not lazy, we'll make bed. Okay. So, and there we go. Now we're up. Now there's probably another method that we'll do eventually called get ready, for work. So that could be another method later on, but essentially what this method is we wake up in the morning, we turn off our alarm, we get out of bed, and if I'm not lazy, then I'll make my bed. But if I am lazy, we're done. So that's a method, as simple as that. To get a little bit more in depth on what a method is, what is a method in Java? So same thing. It's just a set of instructions. So like public void. Let's do the same thing. Wake up, right? So what we'll do is this is just going to be an action. So what method is? It's comprised of public or private here. But basically, you don't need to worry about that. You can just make everything public at this point. This second word, void, that is our return type. So it could be void, int, boolean, string, double, any type of variable. So if it makes sense, a void essentially is nothing. So if we have a method and the return type is void, that means it's not returning anything, which makes sense if we're just doing an action that just says do this set of instructions. Well, why would we want to just do a set of instructions? Why not, just put my set of instructions, wherever? Why put it in a method? Well, this makes sense. Like when I call this method, wake up, like let's say we have this is our program called our day. So a program called our day. Well, let's say in our day this is our line of code. We have a bunch of code in here for our day. If we just listed out everything we do, like number 1, wake up, 2, get out of bed or turn off alarm, and we just do this giant set of instructions, that's what we're going to be limited to. We won't be able to make it efficient. We won't be able to make this line of maybe 500 lines of code any shorter. Like we're set to those instructions. I'll elaborate on that a little bit more. So let's move back to our public void, and then wake up is just what we call it. And then inside here is your parameters. So right now we won't take any parameters right now. I'll go into that in a little bit more. So public void wake up. Well, let's say this isn't going to make too much sense, but let's say we have in our public void wake up we have turn off alarm. Okay. Then we have another method called get out of bed, and let's say we have another if statement now. If not lazy, then we will make bed. Okay? Simple as that. So this is our wake up method. Well, whenever we call our wake up method, we're going to immediately turn off our alarm. We're going to get out of bed, and if we're not lazy, indicated by the exclamation mark, then we'll make our bed. That's how, I mean, essentially you'd write it in Java, what we just wrote before. So to kind of elaborate on this, you know, why make all these methods in here? You know, why not make all the mumbo jumbo, you know, technical details of Java, like g.drawString and all these parameters and that? Well, this makes sense to me. If I'm reading this, then and I'm just going through, I'm skimming your program because you called in sick, you have the flu, you won't be in for a week. I have to take over your Java project. Well, I'm going to open up what you've coded in your last 6 months of working here, and if you have a lot of methods that are named logically correct, like wake up, a method should always be an action. So as you can see, turn off alarm, get out of bed, make bed, wake up. They're all actions. A method, like I said, is an action. So if everything you wrote in here is labeled, you know, logically correct to what it actually is going to be doing, then I'm going to have a lot easier time understanding your program. Whereas, let's say, oh, you know, method 1, oops, so method 1 and, you know, method, you know, 1.1, or just 1, and, you know, this one's method 2, and, you know, method 5. Okay, like I'd say you name this stuff that doesn't make any sense. I have no idea what's going on now. Now I have to go in and look at what method 1-1 does and see all the technical jargon of Java to understand what it does. Well, you know, that's why we just name things, you know, that make sense in Java. So let's go ahead and let's understand a little bit more about Java, like what are parameters. So let's make a new method. We'll call it public, and let's put, instead of void, we'll put int. That means it's going to return an int. And let's put get convert dog age. Okay. So right now we're going to convert a dog age, but we want the user to be able to tell us what the age of the dog. And so we'll put a comment up here real quick just to say that converts your dog's age into human age. Okay, so we look at this and we go, okay, we need to convert dog age. Well, what's the dog's age? I don't know. The programmer doesn't know. The programmer goes, I have no idea what, you know, my client's dog's age is going to be. So I have to make some parameters for my method. I have to have the method ask for something. So in this, we'll put int, and we'll just put dog age. So what this says is it creates a new variable called dog age, and it's an integer declared by int. If we had multiple parameters, we could put int second, or int second dog age. Okay, so you just separate them by commas. You can put int, you can put boolean, you can put double, you can put whatever you want. It's just declaring a variable. Okay, well, how do we use that? Alrighty, well. Let's go ahead and look in our code now and see what we can do. So typically we'll make a new int called human age. We're going to set that equal to something. We're going to set equal to dog age times 7. That's, I mean, it's not the newest, most mathematical correct conversion to dog age, but it's the most known one. So we'll just do that. So int human age, you know, is equal to dog age times 7. Well, where's dog age come from? Oh, it comes from up here, dog age. Well, how the heck what is that? That's not a number, you know. It says it's a number, but nothing's assigned the dog age. Well, don't worry yet. So now what we're going to do is we're just going to return human age. So what this does is this is my instructions, okay, right here. So this one line is my instructions. It's just like the brain of my method. It says I'm gonna create a new integer, call it human age. It's equal to dog age times 7. Well, now I'm going to return human age. Well, what does that mean? Well, that means whenever this method is called upon and it executes correctly, it's gonna kind of have an output in the background in all the coding. So well, let's put this into play a little bit. So let's say we want to check and see later on if my dog age is equal to my age in human. So eventually I get my age, let's say 21, right? There we go. So my age is now 21. And then what I do is I do if, and then what I do is I want to know what my dog's age is, and I want to compare it to my age. So, and theoretically you put dog age, right? And is my dog age equal to my age? Well, how do we know what my dog age is in human years? Oh, we made this wonderful method that converts your dog's age into human age. Alright, well let's go ahead and call that method. So we put in our method name, convert dog age, right? So convert dog age. And what's our parameters? Our parameters is an integer, and it's saying dog age. So this makes logical sense. This tells me that I need to enter my dog age here. So let's say my dog is 2 years old, okay? Well, so let's go ahead and do this. So there we go. So now I have an if statement that asks if my dog age, which is 2, converted into human age, is equal to my age. Okay, well let's go ahead and look at this. Let's read this. So if convert dog age 2. Okay, so what Java does is it goes up here and it finds the convert dog age method. And it goes, okay, well, int here. Yep, that's an int, that's an int. Okay, that works. Let's go ahead and move on. And it says, okay, we're going to create a new variable called human age, and it's an int. Okay, it's equal to dog age times 7. Okay, what's dog age? Dog age, that goes up here. Oh, look it. Oh, okay, so they entered it in. So now let's go back down. 2. Okay, so dog age is equal to 2. So 2 times 7, well, that's 14. So and then it returns human age. So it goes, okay, so now we know human age is equal to 14. So we're going to return 14. So what does this whole block equal to? It equals 14. So so what this is basically saying is if 14 is equal to my age. Well, what's my age? My age, right, if you look up here, is 21. So basically, if you look at it, Java, there's always a paper trail. You can always look back and see where everything leads to. And that's going to be a lot easier if you're a decent programmer and you name your variables in a logical manner. Like my age, that makes sense to me, Dog age, that makes sense. Human age, that makes sense because I took dog age and I'm making a human age out of it, and my convert dog age, that's a pretty good method. That usually tells me, I could probably elaborate on this, convert dog age to human age. I could do that. So elaborate a little bit more on it. So, if you look at this now, you follow the paper trail, you go convert dog age, okay, find it, convert dog age, int dog age, that's what 2 is. So 2 is basically equal to int dog age. So you look, you go, okay, dog age, that goes back up here, down to here, that's 2, so 2 times 7, that's 14. That's set to human age, and we're returning human age, so that basically means the whole thing's 14. If 14 is equal to 21, which it's not, so it's false. So that's how you do that. That is a very basic way of how methods work and how to integrate parameters in it. So no matter what my dog age is, no matter what dog age is, as long as it's an int, as specified right here, then we'll be able to figure out what the human age conversion of it is. So no matter what, so this is not a specific program where, let's say we made we had a specific client, right? We knew her dog was 5, right? Well, we'd probably just switch this to 5, okay? Well, let's say now, because we know her dog's is 5 years old, so we don't need to do anything like that, we just immediately put 5. Well, let's say she wants her nephew to use it, and her nephew has a dog who's 3 years old. Well, this program won't work for her nephew because this program is now specific to the dog being 5 years old. So if we keep it like this, then we're allowed to use our method no matter what the age of the dog is. The user can input that age, and it will always calculate into a respectable answer for our client. So let's go ahead and take a look real quick at a program I made. So what this program does, I'll run it real quick so you can see, is, okay, we open up, it says, oh, the button, it says click here. Okay, click here. Oh, it changed the text. It said click the button again. So I click it again. One more time. Okay, oh, hooray! You can follow instructions. That's what my program does. You click any more, it's done. It's done. All done. So let's go ahead and look at it. So as you can see here, okay, I got a layout, whoop-de-doo, I got a button here, yada yada. And then I implement my action listener so it can understand what my button is. Let's take a look at our declaration real quick. So I've got an int called click counter, and I set it to 0 right away because when you run the program, how many times have I clicked this program? I haven't clicked it at all yet, so my click counter should be 0. That makes sense to me. When I click it, it goes on and on. Then I have a string called button text, and it starts out being click here, and if I look at my button, I say new J button with button text. So obviously I start with a 0 click counter, and I start with the button text click here. Let's see if that's right. Yep, it just says click here. So now let's go ahead and take a look at basically the brains of this is where I put it in right here. So I have my public void, my action performed method, which is the method that you have to have if you have action listener. This basically looks at everything, and then obviously my if my button is clicked, this is pretty much what this says, then we're going to do something. Well, I have a switch statement here called click counter. So switch click counter. So it's going to check the click counter. So every time this button is clicked, this gets ran. So first time I click it, it says, well, in case my click counter is 0, which it is, we're going to set button text to click the button again. We're going to set the text of the button to that text right up there. We're going to add 1 to the click counter, and then we'll just break. So that makes sense. So if I click this, what should happen is the text on this button should switch to click the button again. Oh, it happened. Okay, well, and my click counter went up by 1, right? So now my click counter should be 1. So let's go ahead and let's click it again. Well, obviously my click counter is no longer 0, it's now 1. So this set of instructions should be ran. So basically, if you look here, it says 1 more time, and it sets my text to that. It adds 1 to the click counter. So if I click this, this should change to 1 more time. Oh, it did. Alright, well now my click counter went from 1, it added 1 to 1, so that's 2. Alright, well let's take a look. If I click this 1 more time, it says, in case my click counter is 2, click counter 2, then my button text will be, hooray, you can follow instructions. And then it sets the text of that button to that string there, and it adds 1 more to click counter, and then it breaks. So if I click this, it should change over to, hooray, you can follow instructions. Hooray, you can follow instructions. Okay, great. Now you understand my program. Well, I want you, let's say we had this case. We have case 0, case 1, case 2. So we have 3 cases here. What if I had 100 cases? Well, let's take a look. We have 5 lines of code for each case times 100. That's 500 lines of code that I'm going to have just to check, what my click counter is. That's a lot of that's a lot of code to add. Well, what could we possibly do to shorten that code, or maybe make it a little bit less? Well, let's take a look at each case and see what each case has in common. So if you take a look here, in case 0, case 1, and case 2, they all set button text to some sort of string, right? Well, what's the second line? Well, the second line is identical in every single situation. They all set the text of the button to whatever that string that we just set above it was. Okay, so that's the same here, and then what do they all do? They all add 1 to the click counter. They also all break, but we won't worry about that now because that has to be in the case statement. So if we take a look, these 3 lines of code all have extremely similar features, okay? But what's the difference between this brick of code, this brick of code, and this brick of code? Well, the difference is the string here, you know? Click the button again, one more time. Hooray, you can follow instructions. That's the only difference between those 3 things. Okay, well let's see what we can do real quick. Let's see if we can make a method. We'll call it public void, because all we want to do is we're just trying to get these bricks of code down and not be, you know, 500 lines of code in the future. We want it to be less than that. So let's call public void. What are all these 3 things kind of doing? They're, I don't know, they're setting the button text, right? So we'll just call it setting button text. Alrighty, so there we go, we have our method. Let's take a look. Remember, what did I say was different between all 3 of these? Remember, it was the string. Okay, so the string is different. So what does that tell me? That tells me that the user is, no matter what I do with this method, I need the user to tell me which string to use. Okay, well that's pretty simple. So we'll just make a simple variable in there called string text. Alright, that's pretty simple. Well, now let's take a look and let's go ahead and paste in, whoops, our code. Alright, so we pasted in just 1 block of code, doesn't matter. Well, let's get rid of this real quick, because we know the user's going to tell us that, right? Well, what did we say that we're going to save whatever the user tells to? Is text. So let's just make button text equal text. And then, obviously, this will all be the same. So it's button.setText, button text. That's just going to set the text of the button to whatever we put up here, which is equal to this. And we're going to add 1 to the counter. Okay, well, now let's go ahead and, you know, these 2 lines of code are in our method. Let's get rid of that. So we got rid of all the extra stuff that's in there. Well, we already have button text equals. Let's get rid of that. So let's take a look here. So we're left with just the strings. That's the only thing from our cases that is, you know, unique in each case. So let's go ahead and try this. So using our method, we'll do setting button text, and in our parameters we have a string. And there you go. We'll do the same thing here. Oops. So let's take a look now. Well, look at that. This looks really nice. Now, instead of 5 lines of code for every case statement, now we just have 3 lines of code. Which, I mean, it's a minor thing, but that's 200 lines of code in the end if we had 100 cases. That's a lot of code that we just cut down on. Oh, and it makes a little bit more sense when I read it. Okay, well, what would you rather read? Let's get rid of the ing there. Just put set button text. Alright, so does this make sense? Let's see. So we understand when the button is clicked, because of our action perform, that's just general knowledge of Java. We have a switch statement with click counter. Alright, so if click counter is 0, then we set the button text to click the button again. Okay, that's pretty cool, you know. That makes sense to me. I understand that the set button text is, you know, that makes sense to me. That English wise is very, you know, it's easy to read. Or what do you think? Is this easy to read? Or is this easy to read right here? Button text equals, then you'd have a string here, and then button.setText, you know, button text, click counter plus plus. That's the technical jargon, like I was telling you, we want to kind of stay away from. Because that, I mean, it doesn't make sense to me. Yeah, obviously, if I really need to know what set button text does all down to the nitty gritty, I can go find the set button text method and read it all. That's fine. So let's go ahead and take a look real quick. So, you know, let's open up our thing again. So when we click here, oh look, it all works just fine. So let's go ahead and take a look again. So when this button's clicked, in case my click counter is 0, then we set button text to click the button again, and we break. Okay, well let's take a look at set button text. We have so we look over here. It's a public. It's void, means not going to return anything. It's just going to do a set of instructions. And set button text. Oh look, it takes this parameter called text, and it's a string. Well, what did I put in there? I put click the button again. Okay, so if you look here, button text, so there's obviously some variable out there called button text. If we look up in our declarations, you can see it's a string. And I'm setting it equal to whatever you put in here. So right now, button text is equal to click the button again. And if you look here, well, for the button, I'm setting the text of it to button text. Well, button text is equal to whatever we set text to. Well, text is whatever you entered in for the parameters. Well, there you go. And then we just add one to the counter. So, if you look at it, that's a little bit more efficient way of programming by using parameters and by using methods. You can take, as you can see, a set of instructions, name that set of instructions to something logical called set button text, and you can also kind of use a variable for that method, like as you can see here, our string. So our string changed every time, but the instructions to, the instructions to actually change that using that string and changing that button text is the same. For a less complicated thing, let's say we just made a method called put on a shirt. This is going to be the dulled down thing, okay? So we'll put on a shirt. That's our method, okay? There we go. We got a method. Well, usually when I put on a shirt, this is our shirt method. It's going to have things in here. The first one's like, take off previous shirt, and then we gotta, we have to put shirt overhead, put arms through holes, and then I don't know, pull down maybe. So that's the technical jargon of of it. So the only other thing is we have to pick a shirt, right? We have to pick a shirt. So if you look at a method, no matter what shirt I have, I still have to take off my previous shirt. I still have to put the new shirt over my head, put my arms through the holes, and pull down so the shirt is completely on me. Well, if I put on a shirt, and then shirt and shirt, whatever. So I would then define what shirt I want to put on right here, and then pick a shirt, and then be shirt. That's how that kind of works. So you can define the shirt right here. So you say, okay, I want the user to insert whatever shirt they want to put on, then that's the shirt they pick. And then no matter what, they still have to pick a shirt, no matter what shirt it is. They still have to take off. They still have to do all these lines of code. So that's kind of the simple layman's terms of putting on a shirt. Just the method of it, because you don't just pick a shirt at random. Well, maybe you do, and that would be something, you would code to pick a random shirt. But either or, you still have to have a shirt to put on before you can put it on. So that's kind of the technical ways of doing methods. That's also the kind of more English version of doing methods. Hopefully this video helped methods click with you, because I believe methods is one of the most important things you could possibly do or possibly learn for any programming thing. So whether it's a method or a define block if you're in a different programming language, that is usually the make or break it point of whether do I understand how programming works or do I not understand at all. Which I'm not saying give up if you don't understand it, but just know that methods is an extremely important part of programming. As you can see, they can turn hundreds and thousands of lines of code down to a simple 100 code project, as long as you can understand methods. And it also, once again, makes it extremely easy for someone to read your program if you name your methods correctly. and logically, rather than just mumbo jumbo, whatever you think it should be. So, all right. Well, if you have any questions, let me know. Otherwise, yeah, hopefully this clicks with you.